Dolce et Decorum by Wilfred Owen. Bent double like old beggars under sacks, knock-kneed, coughing like hags, we cursed through sludge, till on the haunting flares we turned our backs, and toward our distant rest began to trudge. Men marched asleep, many had lost their boots, but limped on, bloodshot, all went lame, all blind. Drunk with fatigue, deaf even to the hoots of gas shells dropping softly behind. Gas! Gas! Quick, boys! An ecstasy of fumbling, fitting the clumsy helmets just in time, but someone still was yelling out, and stumbling, and floundering, like a man in fire or lime. Dim through the misty panes and thick green light, as under a green sea, I saw him drowning. In all my dreams, before my helpless sight, he plunges at me, guttering, choking, drowning. If in some smothering dreams you too could pace behind the wagon that we flung him in, and watch the white eyes writhing in his hanging face, like a devil sick of sin, if you could hear at every jolt the blood come gargling from the froth-corrupted lungs, obscene as cancer, bitter as the cud of vile, incurable sores on innocent tongues, my friend, you would not tell such high zest to children ardent for some desperate glory. The old lie, Dolce et Decorum pro patria mori.
So for our Wendler analysis of the poem Dolce et Decorum, we decided the meaning was that this poem shows war through the eyes of innocent young soldiers who do not know what good they are fighting for. All their lives, these boys have been told that it is an honor to fight for their countries, and now they are quickly realizing what a lie that is. The antecedent scenarios, we believed that the poet was a soldier and experienced war in his past. The poet uses poetry to convey his and others' struggles in wartime when the cause for fighting had moved beyond pride for your country. For the division into structural parts, this poem is separated into 4 stanzas of 8 lines, 6 lines, 2 lines, and finally 10 lines. The ends of the stanzas all have periods, and there is a bit of enjambment throughout the poem. The first stanza describes the mental and physical states of the soldiers. The second stanza shows a gas attack and its aftermath from the speaker's perspective. The 2-line third stanza shows what I believe to be the soldier's dream of his fellow soldier drowning in poison gas that he witnessed. In the final stanza, the speaker addresses the reader and their lies and ends with the phrase, "It is sweet and honorable to die with your country," insinuating that it's a lie. We believe the climax of the poem was in the 3rd stanza. Even though it was the shortest stanza, that marked the shift between just describing the events that he witnessed versus talking to the speaker. So other parts, there were similes throughout, such as bent double like old beggars, obscure as cancer, bitter as the cud, and under the green sea. There is enjambment throughout the entire poem, as you can see with the ends of sentences continuing past just one line. And there is an apostrophe in the last stanza. If in some soothing dreams you too could pace, because the author speaks directly to the reader using you. For Find the Skeleton, the first 3 stanzas progressively get shorter, which could represent the kids' descent into soldiers, and I think the last stanza is the longest because it represents the eternal memory of the soldiers that have passed away. I couldn't really find any games with the skeleton besides the shift where the speaker goes from describing the events to addressing the reader. Language and tone. The language used is very simple and the tone is very somber throughout the poem. You realize that none of the vocabulary is very advanced, which could be a little bit of a metaphor for how young these soldiers were when they were taken out of school to go fight for their country. The agency in speech arts. The speaker uses you when addressing the reader, and for the roads not taken, the soldier could have chosen to blame the reader instead of just opening the reader's eyes up to the lies that the soldiers were told just so they could fight for their country. For genre, form, and rhythm, Dulce et Decorum Est is formed like a quote-unquote normal poem in stanzas and doesn't seem to have a unique form to us. For imagination, we were kind of able to connect this poem in the sense that how these kids were called to deal with the trauma of war and fight for their countries. Our generation is probably going to be defined by our handling of the coronavirus that's happening right now.